I will say I've never worked with a group of educators more dedicated to kids than in the Caldwell School District.
It's always felt like a family unit here.
It's nice to be able to walk into a job and not have it feel like a job, just to like love the people that you work with.
It's kind of been that family sort of feel, like we've got each other's back, and I never one time felt like I was in this alone.
We spend a lot of time making sure that we're connected as a staff. There's a lot of vulnerability. There's a lot of trust building.
I think that we are really fortunate here to have administrators that care about us as people.
Seeing adults be vulnerable around their students and the willingness to try these things that make them feel a little uncomfortable. And then the result that they get from the students, I think, always shocks them.
This has really, really been very meaningful to me, like personally, and it's just kind of changed my outlook on life and how I do things. I mean, for myself, and then in the classroom as a teacher, I feel like I am a much, much better teacher because of what we've started doing here.
What conversation there is. Yeah, you know, that's... Yeah. Oh, weird. Yeah. We had this discussion already on prices.
So 5 years ago, it was about planting seeds and about seeing where we were at.
Well, I think naturally when something is new, you're going to have a little bit of a storm period, whether that's with adults or students.
It has to start with the educators in the building. So what we actually did first is we put out an optional book study to all of our teachers. We had about 75% of certified staff choose to participate. And we started with 10 healthy habits. We really talked about, as a group, pick 2 or 3 of those you're going to work on this week. And then in your group, you talked about that. And so staff started. And then after that, we looked at that with our students as well.
To me, at that point in my life, I don't think I was ready for it. Understanding how that really, what I could do with that. And then we started doing mindfulness, and it just pulled everything together.
I feel like it's really, really important that if I expect you guys to reflect on what you're doing, as far as like how well you're doing on our standard, and it's important for me to reflect on my teaching and share that with you. I feel like this semester I haven't given you enough opportunity to practice the drawing of your mental math. So, like last week.
The dialogue was huge, and it started to really start those side conversations and people coming back in and saying, I tried this today. This was different. Here's what I saw. And so you started to have those little mastery moments or those pieces of how this might fit for me as an educator.
It's a different one, but it's along the same lines. And the kids walk out of there and they just...
I think we really have a system here in place to keep us connected and support each other. But I think that comes down to the trust in our leaders.
I don't ever feel like it's forced that we've had to do it, but I just feel like incredibly lucky to have the support that we do from our admin. And I feel like that change doesn't happen because you told all of your teachers to do this. It trickles from the top.
And I'll never forget going to the state and having to present in front of the curriculum directors, right? The math director, the ELA director, and say, by the way, yes, we need to grow in these areas, but the way we're going to do it is we're going to put this money into trauma-invested classrooms. And I did that, and they were 100% behind us.
For any kid in the classroom to be able to identify where they're feeling and not feel hung up on that, like, okay, I don't have to be embarrassed about saying this, I think is just a huge, huge thing.
I refuse now to tell myself that my students can't do something because they can't.
And giving them those tools, I think it's a life skill. It's gonna help build strong relationships, make more connections. It's going to make them feel empowered in their own feelings. It's going to give them some understanding of, how do I cope with this feeling? How can I get from here to here?
I don't feel like it's one thing that makes the difference. It's like all these little pieces that, put the puzzle together.
It's more about climate and culture that really allows you to cultivate those skills in students. Our focus on specific trauma-invested classrooms really came out of digging into a very intensive needs assessment.
Instead of me thinking, okay, this student has their head down because it's a reflection of me, it's me going, okay, why is the student doing this? And it just allows me to approach them differently. It turns on this personal, oh, I'm taking this personal. It just turns that off, and then I'm there for the student.
You know, there are some great programs out there, but it's really about what you do every day. Instead of adopting a program, right, we're going to do social emotional learning. Really, the trauma invested piece is about the whole picture. And every year it's been adding what is the next layer, the next piece to that.
I really believe that it kind of comes from the top, and our admin do an amazing job of offering us the opportunities to work on us.
It takes a few brave individuals to kind of share their experience, and then I think it starts to kind of just like, oh, if this individual is willing to share this mastery moment with me or whatever their experience was, I might give it a go.
I feel like this is the first year I'm really teaching. I feel like it's really impacted me for, you know, the rest of my life.
You can't do this without trust, and you cannot build trust without time. And so we took our time. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I would encourage anybody, whether it's in your classroom, in your school, in your district, is you can't rush trust, and you can't do it without it.
So I think it is a process, and I do think it takes time. And I don't think you have to do a bunch all at once. I think you can kind of add little chunks, allow for some process time, allow for some practice, some conversation, reflection.
That all sets the tone for what students are learning about themselves and about the community they're a part of.